He became the most powerful man in the Middle East. And then he vanished. No press conference, no public address, no video, no photograph, just a written statement read by someone else on state TV, promising revenge. Iran is at war. Thousands of its own citizens are dead in the streets. The currency has collapsed, and the man who is supposed to be running the country has not been seen. His name is Mojtaba Khamenei. He is Iran's new supreme leader, and here's what the world didn't know when they announced his name. A year-long Bloomberg investigation had already traced a global empire, London mansions, Dubai villas, European hotels, billions of dollars, back to this man. A man who, on every document, every deed, every corporate filing across 4 countries, owns nothing and controls everything. To understand Mojtaba Khamenei, you need to understand one thing about the world he was raised inside. Iran's regime was not just a government, it was a brand. We are not the West. We do not worship money. We are servants of God. That was the deal. That was the contract between the clerics and the people. Luxury was corrupt. Simplicity was holy. The whole system ran on it. Mojtaba grew up inside that story. Son of the supreme leader. Mid-ranking cleric. Never photographed in the wrong place. Never caught saying the wrong thing. He was the shadow. And he understood something his father never had to learn. In the modern world, the most dangerous thing a powerful man can do is put his name on something. So he didn't. But before he became supreme leader, before the assassinations and the war, there was already a file on Mojtaba Khamenei. In 2019, the United States Treasury sanctioned him personally. Not for what his father did, not for being the supreme leader's son, for coordinating directly with commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and with the Basij paramilitary force. Those 2 organizations, keep them in mind, because they come back. To understand how the money moved, you first have to meet one other man. Ali Ansari, Iranian businessman, Tehran-born. His family had connections to the religious establishment going back to the 1979 revolution. In the late 1980s, at the end of the Iran-Iraq War, a young Ansari was drafted into the military. That's where he first met Mojtaba Khamenei. They were young. The country was exhausted from 8 years of war. Mojtaba's father had just become supreme leader. Over the next 3 decades, Ansari's career moved in one direction: up. State contracts, import licenses, construction, shipping, petrochemicals, each industry a pipeline, not just for goods, but for money that needed somewhere to go. By the time Bloomberg started investigating, Ansari was a 57-year-old billionaire with Cypriot citizenship, a second passport that let him open bank accounts across Europe without raising flags, and his name on paperwork stretching from London to Mallorca to Frankfurt. Here is how the machine actually worked. Iran sells oil, sanctioned oil, moving through what investigators call shadow fleets, ships that turn off their tracking signals mid-ocean and reappear somewhere else. That money enters the financial system. Not in Tehran, in London, in Zurich, in Vaduz, Liechtenstein, in Dubai. It moves through shell companies, layers of them. One company owns another company, which is managed by a third, registered in the Isle of Man, a small island off Britain with strict secrecy laws and zero curiosity. By the time that money buys a property in London, it is unrecognizable. It looks like a foreign investor making a smart real estate play. That investor, on paper, is Ansari. And those properties? Over a dozen buildings in London's most elite postcodes. One on Bishop's Avenue, Billionaires Row, a $46.5 million purchase. Full London portfolio, over $138 million, per Bloomberg and a Western intelligence assessment. A villa in Dubai's Beverly Hills district. Luxury hotels in Frankfurt, a golf resort in Mallorca, a ski hotel in Austria. Total European portfolio, around 400 million euros. Full network by some estimates, into the billions. On every deed, every filing, every record, Ansari's name. not Mojtaba's. The man who built all of this does not exist in any of it. Now stop. While Bloomberg's investigators were tracing that network, while they were cross-referencing Isle of Man filings with London Land Registry records, something else was happening. In Tehran, on December 28, 2025, the shopkeepers of the Grand Bazaar closed their stalls and walked into the street. Not students, not activists, shopkeepers, merchants, people who had watched food prices rise 70% in a single year. People whose currency had lost so much value that a month's wages couldn't buy a week of groceries. Within days, all 31 provinces, millions in the streets. And on January 8th, the regime's response arrived. Security forces took positions on rooftops. Snipers, rifles, live ammunition. They were given two methods of operation, according to testimony from an IRGC operative who later defected. The first, crowd steering, funneling protesters into enclosed areas, then opening fire. The second was called something worse. They called it hunting leaders. Agents would blend into the crowd, identify anyone who seemed to be organizing, and shoot them from behind. The internet went dark at 8 p.m. on January 8th. What happened next, the regime didn't want anyone to see. Remember the IRGC, remember the Basij, the same forces Mojtaba Khamenei was sanctioned in 2019 for coordinating with directly. His network funded them. His relationships ran through them. And on January 8th, they were on the rooftops. His name was Amir Hossein Saidi. He was 19 years old, computer science student. His father had begged him to stay home. He was still recovering from illness. But on the night of January 8th, he told his family he was going. "Adrenaline has risen in my blood," he said. "I'm flying. Tonight, I want to fly." By the next evening, he was dying in his father's arms, shot in the face, on a street in Tehran. And then, while his family was still in shock, government officials came to the door. They had a message. Call him a Basij martyr. Tell people he died fighting for the regime. Or we will bury him ourselves, in a location we will not share. That is what it costs to want to fly in Iran. Now, cut to London. On Bishop's Avenue, behind tall hedges and blacked-out gates, the mansions sit empty. Private guards circle the block. The man whose network funded the forces that were on those rooftops owns 12 of them. On paper, he owns none of them. In 2013, Ansari needed financing. He was making a major move, over 20 acres on Bishop's Avenue, a landmark London acquisition. He needed £36 million. He got a loan from a company called Topland Group, a British real estate investment firm. Founded by two brothers, Saul and Eddie Zakai, British-Israeli businessmen. Let that land. The future supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the man who would inherit his father's stated mission to destroy Israel, who would promise in his first public statement that revenge is a file that will remain open. Financed his London property empire with money from a company owned by Israelis. At the time, no sanctions, no laws broken. The lenders appear to have known Ansari only as an active Iranian businessman. The investigation found no wrongdoing on their part. But two of those London apartments, they sit on Palace Green in Kensington. Their windows overlook the garden of the Israeli embassy. He called it a permanent surveillance platform. He called it a serious security breach. He was not wrong. And none of it is in Mojtaba's name. In October 2025, as Bloomberg's investigation neared publication, British authorities sanctioned Ali Ansari, corrupt Iranian banker. Assets frozen. Germany opened an inquiry. Canada followed. Cyprus reviewed his citizenship. Ansari denied everything. No relationship with Mojtaba. No connection to the Revolutionary Guards. He would challenge the sanctions, his lawyers said. Bloomberg published in January 2026. The land registry records were cross-referenced. The Isle of Man filings were public. The corporate layers were mapped. For the first time in 15 years of moving money through the West, the shadow had a shape. February 28, 2026. US and Israeli missiles struck targets across Iran. One target, the compound where Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was in his office. He was killed. 8 days later, the Assembly of Experts met in secret. They deliberated. They voted. On March 9, 2026, as people in Tehran chanted "Death to Mojtaba" from their rooftops, the 56-year-old cleric with the hidden property empire was announced as Iran's third supreme leader. His first communication to the country, a written statement, read by someone else, on state TV. No video, no appearance. It promised revenge. It said nothing about the protesters who died, nothing about the inflation, the hunger, nothing about London. His first act as supreme leader was a written statement read by someone else. No face, no voice, just words on a page, and a promise of revenge. And here's the cold calculation at the center of this story. The sanctions on Mojtaba were imposed in 2019. The wealth kept moving. The properties kept being acquired. The Swiss accounts kept receiving deposits. The network operated for years, through the sanctions, around the sanctions, because the sanctions were addressed to a name that was never on any of the paperwork. The system wasn't broken. The system worked perfectly. For him, there is a 13-year-old boy named Abul Fazl. He lost his mother to COVID when he was 9. He left school to work as a trainee shoemaker. His dream was to earn enough to buy foreign-made sneakers. On January 8th, he joined the protests in Tehran. He was shot in the neck. After he died, authorities called his family and told them Zionists had killed him. They offered the equivalent of 3 years minimum wage to call him a regime martyr. His family refused. Amir Hossein said he was flying. Abul Fazl wanted sneakers. The man whose network funded the forces that killed them both is the supreme leader of Iran. He owns nothing. So tell me, if you're enjoying stories like this, we just dropped our deep dive on Prince Jeffrey of Brunei. A man who spent $15 billion, kept a private harem, and faced zero consequences. It's live on the channel now. Link above. And next, we're going inside the life of a woman who stole billions from one of Asia's poorest nations, built herself a wardrobe worth more than most countries' GDP, fled into exile, and then, somehow, came back to power. Her family is running that country right now. We'll see you there.